Hello, fourth graders. This is your teacher, Mr. Subhan. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today's lesson will be on subtraction, specifically subtracting really big numbers. The thing to remember about subtraction is that sometimes we will need to borrow or regroup. Sometimes subtraction will involve borrowing or regrouping. Could everybody please turn to page 57 in their math book? Can everybody please make sure they have their math book on their desk and turn to page 57? I will give us a little bit of time to make sure we all have our math books out and are on page 57. Okay, we should all have our math books out by now, and we should all be on page 57, lesson 2 6, subtract greater numbers. The objective of this lesson, which you can see under I can, is to use the standard and place value to subtract whole numbers and also look for patterns to solve problems. Let's go ahead and begin. Now, at the very top where it says solve and share, we see that it says Nevada has a land area of 109,781 square miles. Colorado has a land area of 103,642 square miles. And the question is asking us how much larger is Nevada than Colorado? And it also says we can solve this problem any way we choose. But it doesn't mean we can estimate just yet. It just means solve the subtraction problem in any way we'd like. So let's go ahead and take some notes here in our book. We see that Nevada has an area of 109,781, and Colorado has an area of 103,642. And the question is asking how much bigger is Nevada? I've written that there. How much bigger is Nevada? We know Nevada is the bigger number, but how much bigger? And the key here is to know that how much bigger usually means we should subtract. When we see the phrase how much bigger in a problem, it usually means we should subtract. So let's go ahead and subtract the Nevada area and subtract it by the Colorado area. Here I'm writing out the subtraction problem, and I'm going to solve it using the standard algorithm. But I'm running into an issue because I'm starting from the ones place, and I see that I have 1 minus 2. I don't want to flip it and make it say 2 minus 1. What I want to do instead is I want to borrow or regroup from my tens place, the place value to my left. So that 1, oops, that's a little bit too big. Let me make it a little bit smaller. There we go. That 1 is going to get 10 added to it, so it's now 11. And the 8 to the left of it is going to decrease by 1. All right, now let's see if we can get through with this subtraction now. 11 minus 2 is 9. 7 minus 4 is 3. 7 minus 6 is 1. 9 minus 6 is 3, and then 0 minus 0 is 0, and 1 minus 1 is also 0. So we don't really need to include those beginning zeros. And we see that Nevada is 6,139 square miles bigger. That is our answer to the top part of page 57. Let's move on to this next question at the bottom of page 57, where it asks us to estimate. I've underlined that there. Estimate the difference in the areas of the two states. Is your answer close to the estimate? So let's go ahead and round 109,781 into the nearest thousand. So it's 110,000. It rounded up to 110,000. And let's round 103,642 to 104,000. Since our hundreds digits were both 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, either 5, either 6, either 7, either 8, or either 9, our thousands digit went up by 1. And that 9 there bumped into a 10. So let's now go ahead and do the same subtraction, but this time with our estimates. And let's see if subtracting our rounded numbers give us an estimate that proves that our answer is reasonable or that our answer is close to the estimate. Let's now go ahead and do 110,000 minus 104,000. The ones, the tens, and the hundreds are pretty easy to solve because they're all zeros being subtracted from zeros. But now I run into this issue where I can't do 0 minus 4. So that 0 is going to get 10 added to it. So it does become 10 because 0 plus 10 is 10. And that 1 to the left is going to decrease, yep, by 1. So it's now 0. This is called borrowing or regrouping. And now let's see if I can finish my subtraction. 10 minus 4 is 6. 0 minus 0 is 0. And 1 minus 1 is 0. 6,000 square miles seems to be pretty close to 6,139. Our estimate does prove that our answer is reasonable. Great to have you back, class. Let's go ahead and move on to page 58. And on page 58, we see the title. The essential question says, how do you subtract greater numbers efficiently? Okay, that means as fast as possible, but still correct. Efficient means as fast as possible, but still correct. Let's see what it says at the top. It says 3 of the country's most scenic national parks are in Alaska. It means the most beautiful parks are in Alaska. How much larger is the area of Gates of the Arctic than the combined area of Denali and Kenai Fords? Okay, and we see the picture on the right. The brown is the map of Alaska. And inside the brown, we see 3 parks. One is Gates of the Arctic, one is Denali, and one is Kenai Fjord. So since they're asking how much bigger is the biggest one than the 2 smaller ones combined, it means we have to find what the smaller one combined are and then subtract that from the bigger one to see how much bigger the bigger one actually is than those 2 combined. So we see first that we're adding 19,182 plus 2,711. And after that is done being added, well, let's go through the addition. In the ones place, we have 2 plus 1, which is 3. Then we have 8 plus 1, which is 9. Then we have 1 plus 7, which is 8. 9 plus 2, which is 11, which means we carry or regroup an extra 1 to the 10,000s place, which is how we get 2 for our 10,000s place number. So we see that the 2 smaller parks are 21,893 square kilometers combined. Now we want to see Gates of the Arctic. How much bigger is that one than the 2 smaller ones combined? It says we need to find the difference of the areas. In math 4th grade, whenever they say find the difference or calculate the difference, it means use a subtraction. So let's go ahead and look at step 1. Let's look at step 1, where we are subtracting Gates of the Arctic, that square kilometer number, minus the sum, the total, the combined area we found above. So let's subtract those two numbers. We see that 7 minus 3 is 4 in step 1. Let's go ahead and move on to step 2. Step 2 says subtract the tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s. Regroup if necessary. And we know what that word regroup means. It means we take away from one place to the left and add 10 to the number on the right. So let's see, I see 8 minus 9 in my tens place. But we know we can't do 8 minus 9, and we should not do 9 minus 8 to give us 1. That would be incorrect. We need to do 8 minus 9, but we can't do that. So we borrow from the 2. The 2 turns into a 1. It goes down by 1. And then the 8 gets 10 added to it. 8 plus 10 is 18. Now let's go ahead and finish the subtraction in our tens place. 18 minus 9 is 9. Now we're in our hundreds place, and that 2, by the way, turned into a 1, so now we need to do 1 minus 8, but once again, we can't do that, and we shouldn't do 8 minus 1, that would be wrong. So 1 minus 8 we can't do, so we borrow from the 4 to the left. And once again, the same strategy repeats. The 4 goes down by 1 to 3, and the 1 goes up by 10. Well, 1 plus 10 is 11, so 11 now is there, and 11 minus 8 is 3. And now let's move on to the thousands place. 3 minus 1 is 2. We didn't have to do any regrouping to solve that one. And 3 minus 2 in our 10,000s place is 1. Our final answer is that Gates of the Arctic is 12,396 square kilometers larger than the Kenai Ford and Denali parks combined. Let's take a look at step 3. Operations that undo each other are inverse operations. Addition and subtraction have an inverse relationship. Add to check your answer. What that means basically is that when we have a number and we subtract from it, we get an answer. But the number we subtracted from it and the answer, if we added those numbers, we would get the number we started with, the number we subtracted from. Inverse operations means opposite operations. And the opposite of addition is subtraction, just like the opposite of subtraction is addition. So every subtraction problem can be checked using addition, and that's what we're doing in step 3. Let's add our answer from the subtraction problem and the number we subtracted to see if we get the top number, the number we subtracted from, that 34,287. So let's add. Once again, we should start all the way from the right, all the way from our rightmost column. We see that 4 plus 3 is 7. 9 plus 9 is 18. The 1 from the 18 we regroup to the next column, and the 8 we keep down below. Then in our hundreds place, we have 1 plus 3 plus 8. That is 12. The 1 from the 12 goes into the next column, and the 2 from the 12 goes down below. And then in our thousands place, we have 1 plus 2 plus 1, which is 4. And then in our 10,000s place, we have 1 plus 2, which is 3. And that exactly matches the number we subtracted from, 34,287. Now, if we look at the bottom of page 58, it says, convince me, critique reasoning. The work shown is not correct. What errors were made? Show how to find the correct answer. Let's take a look at what error might have been made in this problem. We see that 8 minus 4, remember we always start all the way on the right, 8 minus 4 is 4, so that part seems correct. But 4 minus 6 we cannot do, so it seems like the step in turning the 4 to the 14 was correct. I know we need to add 10 to 4, and 10 plus 4 is 14, but it seems like the person solving this problem forgot to change the 2 into a 1. Remember, regrouping involves making one number lower by 1 and the other number higher by 14. So we need that 2 to become a 1. And then again, we cannot have that 1 subtract 7. We need that 1 to turn into an 11, and then the 11 minus 7 will give us 4. But in order for that 1 to turn into an 11, the 4 in the thousands place needs to turn into a 3, which means our actual answer is 1,484.